Okay, we're going to talk about visions that I've had recently. If you've watched me for years, you know that I shared something before we had our little health issue, and I told people to get ready for something really big. I did this months in advance. I want to share with you something that I've been having recently. If you've seen me on the Jeff Mara podcast, if you saw that interview, I actually shared it with Jeff off camera before we went on. And we talked about so many things that I never really got to share what I've been experiencing. And we're going to do that with you today because it's happening right now. All right, you ready for this? Let's go. Welcome to Landria, Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through fears and live an amazing life. Like my little spikes? All right, cowgirl today. I'm going to share something that I've been having lately a lot of. I've had it in the past. It's back and it's consistent. I shared this with Jeff Mara on a podcast before we went on camera, talking about visions and predictions, because if you saw my podcast and you watch my channel, you know that all I do is reinforce the fact that you're holding the power of the universe. You're a creator and the creation and the intelligence that manifests everything, and that you hold that power. I'm going to share some really cool stuff right now. First of all, I hope you'll subscribe and click the like button, because I want to keep you informed on what's going on out there, and I'd love your support because I want others to know there's so much to look forward to and we're totally in control of it. This is my message. I can't say it enough. You hold the power to change any future. What we cannot do is infringe on free will or change the cause and effect that happens here in our matrix. In other words, whatever we do, there is a direct effect. Ask and it is given. An ask is everything you think and do is an ask. It is a directive to the quantum field, and it's given like that. So it's created. Now we can alter those pathways, we can change our mind, we can undo certain things, but there's always a cause and effect, and we are now experiencing the effects of the cause of centuries before us. But we're still that energy field, so we can't blame other people. We are still all of that energy field. Some of us have come back. I'm going to share some visions with you right now. First of all, I want to share with you that Breakthrough Fear is my whole platform, and I want to help you to do that because I don't usually talk about my visions because I don't want people to be afraid. I'm going to share with you right now, this is nothing to fear. I want you to understand what's happening on the planet and that it is what we signed up for, and it's meaningful and it's all good if you stay on track with that higher frequency and you get it. We want to master this matrix. How do we do that? So planet Earth, she's a living being. Everything's an energy. Everything is an energy field. You know those paintings with all those dots? If you stare at it long enough, it goes into 3D. That's what we are. We are energies, fields, waves and particles. The particles are concentrations of that energy field. So you'll see a whole board of energy, and from 1,000 feet back, you just see dots. The closer you get, the more you realize they're concentrations. We're a concentration. A tree is, a planet is. They're just concentrations of the energy fields playing out every scenario, okay? If you receive my book, I go into detail in this of what we are and why we're here. It's going to be so purposeful after you get done with this, because the last chapter is the knowing. That's when you have a total knowing, a total understanding of all of it. And you don't have to have the details, because as a human you can't. But here's what's happening on planet Earth. How we've treated her has an effect. Even though, like I said, it's been going on for centuries, and you can say, well, I didn't do it in my lifetime. Yes, you did. If you're drinking from a plastic bottle, you absolutely are contributing. Everything we do contributes on some level. It's up to us to change this. Now, she has her own life cycle. we grow old, people, they're shuffling around, they're not running around the block like, kids anymore. And so planet Earth has her own cycles. If you've ever watched Greg Braden, by the way, if you're signed up for my free email list, I have a free event coming up with Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, that you can sign up for through there. What he has explained is that they have studied the cycles of the Earth, and that we've gone through, ice ages, and then extreme heat way beyond what we're experiencing now with no humans on the planet. And we act like this is like something new that shouldn't be happening and that we're doing all of it. And we're not. She has her own cycle. Everything has its own reality, plus a collective that contributes to it, okay? So I want you to know right now that whatever I tell you today, it's all part of the evolution of everything, and that you will not experience anything to be afraid of in your lifetime or ever. When we break through fear, and come on over, I'm taking on students. I'm taking on students in the Breakthrough Fear coaching. It's changing people's lives, because when you get a handle on what I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to realize we are in very exciting times. We've talked about events. They will continue because we're accelerating our transformation. She's transitioning, and we're contributing to some of the negativity of that with our waterways, our air, what we're putting into the ground. If you're putting a weed killer on your ground, you are contributing. It's time to end all of that. We have to take responsibility. So you can do that right now, because you can change our future. So if you haven't seen the Jeff Mara podcast, you can go, I'll put it somewhere up here at the end of the video, you'll see it pop up, or you can go to Jeff Mara podcast and look up Landria Onkka. I went into my background and why I started doing spiritual teachings. I used to be an investment banker. I've had visions my entire life, and I've also have very distinct memories of lifetimes that aren't on this planet. One of those planets that I have distinct memories of, I can actually draw the cities in detail. I go back there. I've been going back there for decades. It was a very challenging place. One of the things I experienced were huge areas of water, and that there were whole cities in the middle of these waterways, and you would have to transport yourself over to them, where they'd have buildings where whole communities lived, almost like, imagine like almost like a shopping mall and all condos. There's shopping and entertainment and big events areas, and these whole areas where people all live and commune. It's all compact on this space. It's actually pretty progressive. There are air vehicles that come in from other places, and there are also peoples that visited those planets that were not so friendly. I experienced that constantly in these videos, that we were always under attack by craft, and it wasn't airplanes. And so people would move from city to city as they were being basically attacked. The people on the planet itself were not violent people, unlike this planet. So my assumption is that it isn't this planet, or it's the future of this planet. I want you to know about the dreams I've been having. I shared with Jeff, and by the way, recently these things are happening, and this is why I'm bringing it up, and that is I constantly dream of floods and water. I told him that. I didn't want to get into it on the podcast, because that's really another big subject, and I didn't want to tell people so that they'd be afraid without explaining all of this. In my dreams, I'm constantly in areas of massive amount of water, and we live like that. We're very used to it. And just recently was in a craft that went over these huge areas of water, and they were dropping us off in these areas, spaces that I described where you live and you're surrounded by massive amounts of water. I've had a lot of these dreams, okay? It's not any kind of event where people are dying and running from it. It's people adapting to this, and it's just massive amounts of water. That's all I can say. It's just been going on for a while now, just this past year. In the last couple of months, Beijing, Japan, and just recently New York flooded. Now I'm down in Florida, and of course we get nailed every once in a while just from the hurricanes. That's pretty normal for us, right? We just had water here. It never came up to my place. I was spared. It was flooded across the bay from me. Homes were underwater. Then the water went down within 24 hours and everybody was fine. But I want to share with you that water is going to be a big issue. Now, you've heard Edgar Casey's predictions of this, and he's way off base on the timing, right? By now, I should be underwater, the state, and, you know, whole sections of the United States. Well, timing is one of the things that predictions cannot give you. And so I learned this from somebody many, many years ago who was, you know, explaining to me how she predicts things. She says she doesn't know years. She goes by how people look. Like if she sees you, she knows if you were a child, you might be around 10 when this happened. Or she told me about my book that I published. I had not published a book. In fact, it was 20 years before I published my book that turned out to be a television movie. It's a Hallmark movie. I can change the path of anything in my own free will. Reality. I've got a very cool 5 steps to shift your reality training coming out. If you guys are in here, you're going to see it come over. I've got a master class. You're going to love this because you can shift it, and I show you how to do this. It all starts with breaking through fear, because when you go into fear, you go into a low frequency and people panic and do things, and they actually fuel the garbage out there. They're fueling it. They're in control. And people get upset when I tell them sometimes because they don't want to take responsibility. They say, no, it's happening. It's out there. And I'm upset. And you're not agreeing with me. And I said, there's nothing to agree with. You're powerful beings. You're creators. All right? Read my book. I'm telling you right now, everything's one thing, which means you're creator and creation. And you're also the power that can change the circumstances. Now, what we have to accept is we're in a matrix that has free will and cycles. We go into cycles of learning, progressing, evolving, boom, and then back into, you know, the abyss of, you know, unconditional love. And then we come back again. It's a cycle, just like the earth. We have cycles here. That's all we're going through right now. And of course, whatever we do will affect how that plays out. So there's a lot of different components here, the collective and you individually. So you do not have to experience the fear and struggle that others do. You don't have to go through that, all right? Because when you see the world differently, you will not only know you control things, but if you're on a higher frequency, you're up in that penthouse, but you cannot be in the basement going, I want the penthouse to come to me, please come to me. It can't. Just get on the elevator, go up. You got to raise your frequency to do that. And if you do that now, no matter what happens out there, it's not going to be traumatic. We will just adjust, just like we have for centuries. When certain things happen, when there's no water again, you know, whole tribes, they move. You know, if we get flooded, we move. When things happen, we adjust, we adapt, and that is the beauty of being human. We come together as communities to create new realities, new existences, new communities, new ways of living. We've been destroying our earth. We're starting to shift into cleaning it up, respecting it, getting rid of these things that we use every day that are polluting the crap out of this beautiful planet. And she's a reflection of the damage we've done. The animals are suffering because of that. We have to end this. We are responsible. So don't focus on that negativity. Focus on the solutions. Now, you guys have seen this. I'm helping people create clean businesses, sustainable lives. And everything that you do is either going to contribute to the demise of your reality or to the recovery of it, because all possibilities and probabilities exist at once. All right? So the timing on all of this stuff is not predictable because we contribute to it. So we can push off some of these disasters for many, many years. And so will we go underwater? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's going to happen. Do I think it's going to happen in your lifetime? No. No, I don't. Even if you're a kid right now, you're going to see some of that happening, but we're not going to go into the cataclysmic state that Casey predicted, and I don't think it's cataclysmic anyways. Again, we move, we become nomads, we learn to adapt, and life will look different. And then those children who are born into that world won't know anything different. They know that we just live in massive amounts of water under certain temperatures, and we adapt. If you want to go along with this transition on the planet and not go into fear, then you have to recognize this power you hold and the decision you made to come here now, because we're raising the frequency of the planet. It's going to help us through this transition. Now, just before we had our little health issue, I'm not going to say the word, I told everybody to get everything in order because something really big, massive was coming. I told them after the new year you could expect something really huge happening. I said, now is the time to get your house in order. Get this in check. You know, get yourself into a state of peace and being able to accept what's coming. And sure enough, just a few months later, it hit. And we will never be the same again. We will never go back to that life again, right? That is by design. If we didn't go into that extreme challenge, we would not be facing our own mortality and realizing we've got to make some big changes. So we've got to stop this good and bad, right and wrong, spiritual and, dense. That has to end. We are all equal, perfect light beings, and you can use that power for destruction or to shine light on everything and everyone, no matter what they are. This has to happen, and you will help push that reality over somewhere else. And again, if we have to accept the fact that planet Earth, she's aging just like we do, not at the same rate, but we're going to see big changes. These aren't bad things. They will challenge us. And when I say they aren't bad things, I'm not saying that some of them won't be painful, but they all have, I know this doesn't seem right, they have divine purpose, because if you're saying it's wrong, you're saying that the Creator makes mistakes. How can the Creator make mistakes? If you don't understand why we're going through this, don't try to. Just know that it's about your response. Your response is what counts at this moment. It's not what's happening, it's how we handle it. We will get challenged till the day we leave this planet. How are you going to handle your life? Do you want to look back and say, I could have done better? Damn it, I could have done better. Why did I doubt myself? And I want you guys to know I have a channel called Hypnotic Guided Meditation. We're going to go into the power. That's another channel I have. It's all hypnotic guided meditations with the quantum healing hypnosis technique that I use. I'm trained by Dolores Cannon as a hypnotist. I use it because we have got to go into that space and shut that chatter down. I want to help you do that. So we have to get control of this and see, we don't have to understand the purpose of it. We just have to know, what am I contributing? Is it high frequency or not? Because these things are going to happen. Water is a big thing. Water, and it's coming back. Those visions are coming back like gangbusters. I've been in water constantly the last few weeks in my dreams. Just before we had the floods in Beijing in Japan. I didn't even know we had those there. I had no clue because I don't watch the news. So, are you with me on this one? These are not bad things. We signed up for this. You are eternal. You are indestructible. You hold power to change anything. You can change your reality right now. So come on over, guys. I got something really cool coming out for you. And the Breakthrough Fear class, I'm opening it up to new students. We do live coaching. We've had total transformations. We have to pull together now and make those choices, those higher choices. And I'm going to help guide you to that. But you hold that power. I don't. I can show you the path. But you have to take it. Nothing to fear in the future. And if people are telling you that this is the end of the world, there's no endings, there's no such thing. It's impossible. That is just a concept, a belief that is a very low frequency. And just know that this is the transition, just like everything else has cycles, and you're one of them. All right? I want you to know we're going into something really amazing right now, and this could transform your life in an amazing, beautiful way you never imagined that you wouldn't go into if you didn't participate in these sometimes disturbing events. You are absolutely amazing. There is no chosen one. Everyone is an equal power. Whether you think they're a human or not, They are equally beautiful, and we're all here to experience things. They are your best teachers. When you send them compassion, that's when you'll see big changes. When you send hate or separation, judgment of the least of us, this you do the least of us, you do to me. Yeah. We sort of forget all these sayings, don't we? Did you read the Bible? You don't have to read the Bible to know this stuff. Ye are all God's, these things you shall do, and more. Say mountain move, and it'll move. All you're doing is shifting into a different reality where the mountain's in a different place. It's not going to move. You shift. Just like we've talked about shifting different time zones. I had that video. And all of a sudden you're someplace else. You can do that now. I will teach you how to do all of this. Come on over. It's time for us to take control of our power, our thoughts, our beliefs. Did you guys see C to G? Complaint to gratitude. It doesn't matter what the gratitude is. Find something to be grateful for. You shift into a higher frequency. Work on it, my friend. Water's coming. Water's coming. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Some of it will come in quickly. Most of it will not. And we will adapt, and we will learn to live together as communities in ways we never have before. All right, nothing to fear. Focus on that which you can create. There's more opportunities to do amazing things in your life right now, including abundance and health. You're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.